The next Lee and Ian podcast is approaching the station. Please step aside.
Welcome to the Lee and Ian Show. I'm Lee Navlin.
And I'm Ian Grodman.
The Lee and Ian Show is sponsored by Grodman Law and Mediation. When it comes to divorce, family first. That's Grodman Law and Mediation. And South Orange-based psychotherapist Amy Cox Martins. Amy can help you or a loved one find solutions to life's most difficult questions. That's Amy Cox Martins. Our guests today are Angela Matusik and Lisa Cohen, co-founders of the Maplewood Film Society. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for coming and really appreciate this.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're so excited to be here.
Well, we are excited to have you. We have so many questions. Basically, over the last year or so, you've kind of really grown the Maplewood Film Society into something that I think a lot of people in the community have become quite familiar with. You want to talk a little bit about that, how you started it, what it's about, your goals, your mission, so forth?
Yeah, absolutely. This is Angela talking, in case so you can tell our voices apart. And, essentially, I guess it was a little over a year ago, and Lisa and I are in a book club that was born and bred here in Maplewood for like 15 years. And we heard the news about something that the town was working on, this Maplewood Theater redevelopment plan.
Right.
It kind of like broke our hearts a little, and we thought, like, why is nobody doing anything about this?
Right. So we went for a walk together in the reservation, which is something we never do because we're usually sitting around talking about film and books and things like that. And we went for a walk and we were just talking about, well, we need to do something. We need to save the theater because culture really matters to us. And we want to, this is an opportunity for Maplewood to double down on our identity as a creative town. A lot of people think that we are a creative town, and we think that. You might think that. I'm sure a lot of people listening to this podcast thinks that Maplewood has an identity, that we are a creative town, right? So we need to save that and preserve that identity. This is where I want to live, and I want to have this theater here. So we decided we need to do something. A theater.
So it was born.
An outlet.
So basically, the Maplewood Film Society was born because of what can we do about that theater? But you've grown it past that.
Yeah.
You've had events. I know you did a David Lynch event recently,
Exactly.
which coincidentally, by the way, our sons both worked at that.
I know.
Yeah.
So
Sons
fun.
are working there.
We
Yeah, we
loved
met
our
them.
sons.
Yeah,
We're so
so-
grateful to them. But, it's sort of like we kind of decided we just missed seeing movies together as a community, and I think a lot of people do. And even though when we started there was a nearby cinema at South Orange, we found that it wasn't really programming, the types of films that we wanted to see with our friends. And so the first thing we did was a backyard movie night. And that was kind of almost like a little bit of an act of rebellion. Like we don't have a movie theater. We don't need a movie theater. We're going to do it in our backyards.
Let's put on a show.
And we had over 30 houses hosting a
great.
thing last September. We showed Beetlejuice, the original Beetlejuice. And we did it intentionally because the new Beetlejuice was opening that same weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a nice companion, getting into the zeitgeist. Then we had a screening of The Apprentice right before the election. Now, a lot of people might be like, oh, I don't want to see a movie about Donald Trump's past.
Right.
Yes.
But honestly, it's a really good movie.
It was a good movie. The acting was brilliant too. The guy who plays
Yeah.
Trump
I
was.
haven't seen it, but I heard the guy who played Trump was amazing.
Yeah.
He is
Yeah.
Sebastian Stan. He
Yeah.
got a nomination for
You
it.
get the dark
Well-deserved.
side. You
Sebastian
kind of get
Stan,
where he
And
came from a little bit.
Not only do we screen it, but we also had the screenwriter come and have a panel discussion afterwards. So it was
Fantastic.
more than just a screening.
Yeah.
It was an event.
It was, and Gabriel Sherman. He lived in Brooklyn, and we brought him out for the night.
So how did you know him? How did you come across him?
Honestly, I've been working in and around the film business for 20 or more years. I probably don't even want to say exactly how long.
Like 20 years.
Yeah,
20.
a long time.
Yes.
And I honestly just know a lot of people. So I called in a favor, and that's how we got the film. That distribution, we got it. We didn't have to pay for the distribution of it. A friend of mine was working with the distributor, and they were having a hard time finding screens. Because
Right.
a lot of
It
people
wasn't
were,
an archival classic film that we brought,
Right.
that's easier to
Yeah.
get rights for. This was
Yeah.
a brand new film that came out this year that we were able to show.
On election during
Yeah.
election season.
right before,
Yeah, it
a
was
week before the
very
election.
special, and the tickets were free.
Even better.
We partnered with the Maplewood
Soma Action.
Yes.
Soma Action, but also with the town, with the Maplewood town, to be able to provide this whole event for free.
Yes.
And so it was a sold out performance, more than 240 seats at the Woodland, and that was our first
On a Monday.
Isn't that a great feeling?
that
So
was our
year
first,
ago you
film.
start this while you're walking in the reservation, and then shortly after you got sellout.
Yeah.
People showing up to
And
for the events
Yep.
that you guys feel are very important to the community.
And then, as you said, we did do the David Lynch tribute just in May, which we love David Lynch, and
Yeah. Oh my
obviously so
gosh.
do a lot of other
Guys
people.
Yeah,
amazing.
people were
Fan
coming
here.
up to me after David Lynch passing, saying, "Lisa, what is the Film Society going to do for David Lynch?
That's
What are we
great.
going to do? What are we going to do?"
Not
And I was
asking,
like,
telling, kind
and I
of.
was
You
like-
better do something.
I was like, Angela, this is an opportunity. And we were like, absolutely. And so we made it happen. Angela worked her tail off to make it a really special event.
We had an exclusive welcome message that we recorded with Laura Dern.
Yeah, I saw that. So you actually reached out to Laura Dern and said, "Can you send a message to our audience?"
Yes.
And she agreed. And because it was my son who was there,
Yes.
said it was pretty awesome when Laura Dern basically was greeting the
It
audience.
was, and I mean, I wish it didn't happen quite as easily as you just made it sound.
There were
You just call
technical
them, "Hey, Laura,
difficulties.
need a favor."
Yeah, but her people were very lovely and generous, and she was happy to help. And I think it's because we had Fred Elms, who was the cinematographer from Wild at Heart. He also did Blue Velvet and Eraserhead. And he's a professor at NYU, and he's won the Lifetime Achievement Award from the American Cinematographers organization. He's like one of the best in the business ever. And we had an author come, and we did selfie stations, and what we've learned sort of the hard way is if you're having a film in a non-film space, a non-theatrical space, it has to be about more than the film, because the sound isn't great. Never
No, the
gets
sound
that
is not
dark.
great.
Sitting
with
in
the
folding
woodland.
chairs.
Yeah, so we try to make, we have a discussion, we encourage costumes, we have, selfie stations.
We had door prizes for
Yeah.
best costumes.
That's great.
It was
Door prizes are good.
It was so much fun to watch it with everybody. People were literally cheering the opening credits.
Yeah,
Like-
right,
fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we love, and that's what we want to do, and we want to do more of it. So we're looking to have more pop-up events.
Now, and I do know that just reading some of the things I've read about you guys, there's been plenty of articles written, by the way, with good job on your part, you're getting the word out. You say it's ironic that we're basically, at the Woodland, or we're, doing this film pop-up, and then there's a cinema just a few feet away in
Right.
downtown Maplewood that's, that's
Sitting
closed,
empty.
sitting empty. I know that's kind of eating away at you guys a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure like many, like you probably, we have a lot of great memories of going to the cinema, and when it closed during the pandemic, I think a lot of us presumed it would open again.
Right.
I think there was, it came close. I think there were a lot of like near misses as far as like getting a new cinematic tenant to come in. We have heard lots of, details, none of it that I would probably feel comfortable sharing to confirm like what is the state of the cinema, or why it hasn't been bought or why it hasn't been renovated. I would say that it's probably, it's in private ownership hands, and it's a real estate deal. And so I think the people that might be thinking about its future are thinking about a lot of things, and cinema may not be the top of their mind.
It's not going to be the most profitable use, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ian, so I know that Ian is a lawyer, by the way, and an actor. He's an award-winning actor. I don't know if I told you that. But, Ian is an award-winning actor.
In Lee's web series.
Say
That's
stage or
right.
screen.
We
Stage or
did a
screen.
web series a few years ago.
fun.
We actually shot it guerrilla style in downtown Maplewood.
the
We
only
actually
way to
won a lot of
go.
awards
And,
at the
it's
LA
called
Web
Good-
Series Festival and the Rome Web Series Festival.
Good job.
Yeah, so-
Yeah, it
We'll
was
have,
pretty cool.
we'll have to look for that.
Rome,
Yeah.
Italy?
Rome, Italy.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we
wow.
were Rome, Italy.
We
Yeah,
were the representatives
we
of
won
the
a big
LA
award.
Web Series Festival in Rome, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah. They announced and it was the whole thing was in Italian, so we're sitting in the audience and realized that we're not going to understand what's going on. And they announced we heard the Goodstein, and we heard our name, and we didn't know what we
The series
won.
was called Goodstein. Yeah.
But we went up there and we accepted an award.
And we were actually on a panel in Rome.
That's
We
right.
were the only English speakers.
Yeah, that's right.
Everybody else is speaking Italian and
That's
German.
amazing.
And we're just looking around like,
But you know,
I'll say something in English.
Grazie mille, grazie mille.
but you know what they were asking? A lot of Europeans were asking, what kind of grants does the United States give to filmmakers? Because in Europe, that's something that's not uncommon. I kind of was like, goose
Good
egg.
segue.
Yeah, I mean, there are some amazing, and in my other, in my main professional life, like I have worked on producing some documentary films, and I do know a little bit about the grants that are available to filmmakers. But they're more competitive than ever. The film industry
Sure.
has changed radically.
Yeah.
And, I think a lot of the funding, especially like the National Endowment of the Arts, which we all know is, under great jeopardy. But yeah, like I was at a conference in Canada in Ottawa in February, which was kind of delightful actually. And I was just sitting there in a room and I was like, oh my God, like all of these people get money from their government to
Yep.
make films.
Yep.
They
Yeah.
kind of, you forget. Just like you go to another country and you're like, oh yeah, these people don't pay for higher education.
That's
oh yeah, these
right.
people don't pay for health care.
Yeah.
Like we work so damn hard here.
Right.
And we don't realize that the rest of the world has some different models.
Right.
Yeah, it was a little bit of an eye-opener for me. Getting back to the theater now, Ian, this is something might be in your wheelhouse a little bit. I know that they're working with the Township of Maplewood. You've talked to Nancy Adams, Mayor Nancy Adams. What does Maplewood say? I know it's privately owned. There's only so much they can
Yeah.
do.
Right. That's the difficult part.
Well, this is actually we're so grateful for you having us right now because for everybody listening, this is a really important time. If you care
July
about this
15th.
issue, to speak up and talk about what is happening. And so a lot of important documents are getting solidified over the summer. They include the Maplewood Theater redevelopment plan. It includes amendments that might be made to the town's master plan in relation to our historic preservation element. And then it includes an affordable housing element, which is also underway and very important. But all these things are merging together and will have an impact forever on the future of the village of Maplewood.
Right.
Yeah. The now have they obviously everyone I think dreams of a theater in the middle of town, which is wonderful, and the lights, camera, action, and I mean they're filming a movie right now.
Which we had for almost 100 years.
Yes,
Right.
yeah.
So I know it's, but again, it's a private developer. He's going to look
Right.
for an opportunity to make the most money he can make. Understandable, but is there any? Do you envision this movie theater being there in 3 years? Or I mean, if we had rolling, if you predict the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think in 3 years you're probably going to have a big construction site. I think it's
Yeah.
going to take
Right.
longer than 3 years, and it's going to be incredibly disruptive to the town
Yep.
and the flow and businesses. I
Yep.
don't think people have really thought about that.
So it's 2 acres of the northern end of Maplewood that's up for redevelopment. That's a lot of space.
Huge.
And so it's going to be a huge construction site, as Angela was saying. And there could be mixed use where they maximize all of their profits because that's what they're going to want to do. Is they're going to say, how can we make the most money from this? That's what capitalism is, and that's what's
That's
happening
it.
here. But maybe they can find a way if we, use our voices and speak up and let them know that we're here. We'll fill the seats. We want to go to a theater in our town to see movies together as a community. Maybe they could carve out some part of that 2 acres for community space. And honestly, I don't think it's too much to ask. If we're going to be giving them a tax incentive, if we're going to be giving them tax abatements,
Right.
if they're, if that's what they're going to get, well, what do we get? We need a community space. And I feel like a lot of people say, hey, you can't say what they do with their money. They're, this is a real estate transaction. You don't get a voice. But actually I think we should say something because if we're going to be giving them something,
Yeah.
I want to know what are we getting and what we want, I think, or me and Angela and everybody else who agrees with us and is part of the Film Society, which is more than how many people now?
800.
More than 800 people. So join us on Instagram and Facebook.
I have.
Great. So, I mean, we all want to have this theater here. And we think that we deserve a community space. And it should not just be all commercial spaces or
Yeah, it's funny. If you read the redevelopment plan, which I think is still wet paint, and they are working
Sure.
to revise it, there's funny things in it, like about what the potential uses can and cannot be. Like, so they stipulate in the redevelopment plan that the front retail, spaces, no nail salons. And so
Yes.
we're like, if you can say no nail salons,
Right.
can't you say some kind of cinema?
So it's like the cinema, right?
Right.
exactly. Yeah.
You know what? When I look at the materials that you guys have put out there, I've been reading a lot about nonprofit theaters, right? And to me, that sounds like probably the best option for you. I don't know if you feel the same way. If you could tell people who are listening to this a little bit more about how nonprofit theaters work, I know probably the Claridge in Montclair is a great example of that. If you could tell people about that, I think people being educated about how nonprofit theater works and how that can be tied in with the town's master plan that might be really helpful for people to hear.
Absolutely. Well, the Claridge in Montclair is a fantastic example.
Yep.
And every week we hear about more and more small local theaters that are being taken over and run by a nonprofit group. And the good thing about a nonprofit group is that then you can get a mix of types of funding. So you can not only sell tickets and concessions, which obviously are the big part of it, but you can have membership, you can have donations, you can apply for grants. There's
Also, Governor Murphy passed a law in 2023
Pushing
that
film.
nonprofit movie theaters can have a liquor license.
Oh,
and I actually
wow.
confirmed that with Vic DeLuca. And he said, yes, if we were to have a nonprofit theater in our town, they could get a liquor license. And it won't compete
great.
with any of the other liquor license
great.
numbers that we can
Yep.
have.
Yeah, and and we think that that it needs to be a really interesting business model. So in other towns, and we've been gathering budgets and putting together business plans on this, but it would be a mix of theaters. Maybe one theater would show the new release,
Right.
but then the other one could be archival or independent. But then you would also have mixed-use space. You could have education. There's this great thing called the Picture House, which is in Pelham, New York. They have a whole curriculum that they roll out to local students, and they have summer camps. So it is the Montclair Film Society.
And the Jacob Burns Center.
The Jacob Bird Center. If anybody ever wants to drool about what Maplewood could be, take a little road trip to Pleasantville, New York, and see the Jacob Burn Center, which started maybe 15 years ago. They've got a ton of money there, ton of grants, and they've got this amazing complex that just attracts people from all over to their community for these one-off theater film events.
Yeah. That liquor license getting is quite a carrot, I think, for
He's foaming at the mouth.
right, for a developer to say, well, what? I get a what?
Right.
I can get a liquor license if I keep a piece of cinema. So maybe that's
One thing I really loved hearing about was that the Nighthawk Cinema in Brooklyn, they have they sell liquor, but there's not just here's a can of White Claw. What they do is they make cocktails. So you can order
great.
if when Mickey 17 was playing, you could go there and order a Mickey 17 cocktail.
That's great.
And
That's
it
great.
becomes more of a fun event. It's not just
Absolutely.
the movie. It's the whole night out.
Yeah, and we also hear a lot, and I'm sure you have too from these community meetings, about the need for a third space,
Right.
especially for young people.
Yep.
Right? And I went to a cinema in Hudson, New York last weekend called Story Screen. That's an independent cinema. And I walked in and it had 15 vintage arcade games in the
That's
lobby.
cool.
Right?
Yeah.
It's so much fun. You want to go there early.
Cafes, arcades,
Yep.
bars, restaurants. You could combine it all together as a really
Right.
fun experience for Maplewoodians. And,
Right.
I was reading somewhere that there was a poll that said millennials would rather, or 80% of millennials would rather spend money on experiences
Yep.
than on material items.
Yeah. So they want to get out. They want to be with their friends.
Right.
They want a community event.
Yeah.
They
And
want to go to a movie.
Gen Z wants it even more, to be honest. We keep seeing these stats about the number of people that are seeing films, and everybody thinks it's older people, but the Gen Zers are catching up with the old people. They
Yeah.
are really fueling the demand to have experiences together in person.
Speaking about that, there's a new social media platform called Letterboxd. I don't know if you're familiar
Not
with it.
familiar with it.
It's like Goodreads for movies.
Okay.
Everybody, Goodreads,
Yeah, of
right?
course. Yeah,
It's the exact same thing. You could have a watch list, what you've watched. You could leave reviews, and it's social, so you could see what everybody's saying.
Sure, right,
I
right.
joined Letterboxd, and most of my friends are millennials or Gen Z. They're my kid who's 18-year-old. His friends are my friends there,
Yeah.
and I get to see what they're interested in,
That's great.
and they have great taste. They love David Lynch too,
They
by the
do,
way.
absolutely.
They
Who
love.
doesn't
They have
love
great
David
taste.
Lynch, right? Yeah.
So it's really fun to see these young people embrace cinema too. It's
Yep.
not a dying art. It's not something that we're just going to be doing at home. There's a real future for it.
But the business model has changed, and
Yes.
and I just want to be clear: we are realists. We're not stuck in the past. We're not
Right.
saying that we don't want change. It's about an evolution and serving the needs of the community.
Right.
And it's obvious from what you're saying here today that you are open to finding a way to make this work, that you're not saying it's got to be done a certain way, it's got to be done in that space that's there now. I mean, which is, I think, really helpful for you in terms of advocating what you're advocating
Yeah,
for.
I mean, obviously, there's a lot of attachment to the old theater. It has
Absolutely,
this
same here.
incredible history. It was not just for movies, but it was for theater.
Yep.
It's right on Main Street. It was one of the anchors of our town.
That's right.
We've got the park. We've got the train station.
Yep.
We have the movie theater and the library.
Yep.
Those are the anchors of our town. And I would like to keep it that way if possible. But I understand, like, putting the, you'd have to really rebuild that theater from the ground up. There's no, I think trying to renovate it will be a huge challenge.
There are probably architects who would welcome the challenge.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm saving something from.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't write it off completely until it's a more thoughtful thing.
Yeah,
But
okay.
the other thing is in the redevelopment plan they are working with the Historic Preservation Commission, and they probably are trying to save as much of the exterior as possible.
Right.
But just imagine how you would feel if there was a big apartment building there, maybe a Sweet Greens and some other restaurants, or a brewery on the ground floor, and another Wells Fargo,
Right.
and
Right.
and a big movie marquee that led to where?
Right.
A lobby, a bank.
Yep.
Like, if you have the movie marquee, you need to walk in and go
Sure.
see a movie.
Yeah.
It would be meaningless, and it would be like Maplewood, we are posers if you walk through a marquee into a bank.
I
Right.
agree
Like,
with you.
and that's exactly what's happened in Milburn.
Right, yeah,
Charles
You go
Schwab
through
took
Charles
over
Schwab,
them.
yep.
Right.
And so, I mean, we don't really.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that, by
I
the
don't
way.
want that to
Yeah.
happen for
I
Maplewood.
love the fact that posers. Yes, that's exactly.
Let's be real. Let's
Right.
walk through our marquee and go to a theater.
Yep.
I agree with you 100% there. I mean, because Maplewood, to me, they call it Brooklyn West. Okay, what does that mean? Oh, the real estate brokers came up with that to get people from Brooklyn coming over here. Okay, fine. But it is Brooklyn West now to a degree, and that so many families have come from New York. And you read the Facebook groups, and the biggest complaint they have is it doesn't have that Brooklyn vibe at all sometimes, and I think that's what's missing. What you're talking about, you know.
I'm one of those Brooklyn transplants
Are you?
myself 18
right,
years
so,
ago.
So it's there's something missing, which doesn't have to be missing, and I think that's
Yeah,
Right.
And we do hear ideas that are circulating about possibly, adapting another building to make it a cinema, like
Okay.
the Bergdorf or something. And
Yeah.
and so that's not off the table. But before we move to Plan B, let's keep on exploring
Yeah.
Plan
Yeah.
A.
Exactly.
That's great.
There's something about the history and tradition of that theater. It's like when they knocked down. Ian's from the Bronx. When they knocked down the first Yankee Stadium, they put one across the street.
Well, I wasn't there
and it's
then,
not the
but
house that Ruth built anymore.
Right.
And it's just a little. You know,
never
right.
forget.
You never forget. That's right.
But
yes,
when
yes.
I was a little boy in the Bronx, we used to go to the movie. Like me and my brother used to walk ourselves to Fordham Road on a Saturday morning, go to the RKO Fordham, Lowe's Paradise on the concourse. It was great. I love
Everybody
that.
has such fond memories of seeing movies
Absolutely.
with their friends and when they're
100%.
teenagers. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember seeing E.T. with my friends. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I saw Jaws with my friends. One of the first things I did, and I wasn't
it.
scared, by the way, of Jaws.
I'm sure you weren't. I'm sure you
didn't
weren't.
scare me off of the ocean,
But
or swimming pools, none of that.
I just
closing
want to
my
say, I
eyes.
don't want you guys, I don't want the listeners to think that we're stuck in the past either.
Right, that's
Because this
good
is
point.
very much about our current times
Right.
and the current world we're
planning for
living
the
in.
future,
So,
right.
so think about it. Like, you have a whole generation of young people,
Gen Zs, as you just mentioned
right,
before.
who
Mhm.
really are craving experiences
Yeah.
together, and they have really little things that they can do
Sure.
in our community or in South Orange,
Yep.
right? Then you have a whole industry that's not being served by the multiplexes. Like, most of the Academy Award films didn't even show anywhere near here, right?
not at
So
all.
there's plenty of programming, so many things, and if you really connect it and you make it about discussion, events, curation, themes, plug it into what people are talking about in the culture. Like, it's redefining the movie business. It's redefining like what community is. Like, we all believe we need a library. Well, why don't we need a place to watch films? Like, it's the most democratic type of cultural experience you can have. Not like a theater, going to a play can be really expensive. Going to see a concert can be really expensive. Yes, ticket prices might be over $15 now, but you know what? It's still cheaper than almost anything else.
That's right. Absolutely.
Is Hollywood playing along? I mean, are they still are movies generally they were going right to streaming? I mean, are they trying to get back to the theater? I mean,
Well,
what are you hearing about that?
I would just like to use this example of like the smartest marketing move ever. But Netflix owns the Paris Theater now, which is right across
wow.
from the Plaza Hotel.
Yeah.
And they do the smartest programming because they think like, what is the new films that we're going to be promoting on Netflix this month? And then they curate movies around it.
Oh,
For example, and like
great.
even just random things. Like, I took my husband, who's like a Gen X wrestler from high school,
Yeah.
to see Vision Quest for an anniversary screening, and Matthew Modine
Ah,
spoke.
great movie.
Packed theater. I brought my kid to see Dancer in the Dark, which probably scarred them forever, but whatever. was part of a musical series they were doing, and it's just. And so Netflix itself knows the importance of people coming together to watch movies. Like Netflix wouldn't be Netflix if people didn't love movies, and people need to be people
Do you
love
think
movies
Netflix
together.
would be on board with assisting with the project that you're pushing here, or?
Are we too small, or is it is anything possible?
You know, there are some
know?
Netflix executives locally.
That's
That's why I asked.
Let's talk. We're
Yes.
open to talk with everybody.
I think that we could think about how do we franchise the Paris theater model. Absolutely.
I think it's a single screen, isn't it?
It is.
So
is
it's
a
one
single
of the remaining single screen
It's
theaters.
the only
and it's-
single screen theater that still exists in New York City right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about that before we went to air. Just how the Maplewood Movie Theater, for instance, was one
One big theater.
one
that
big
got
theater.
broken
I
up.
think 1,000 seats were in
Right.
it, or something like that.
Right.
And then they when did that kind of the model of we'll put 4 theaters in here, for 4 different movies, 5 different movies,
7, yeah.
Yeah, 7, yeah.
So it opened in, I think, 1923, and it was a single stage. It was 25 feet deep, and it had a dome, a beautiful dome above it. It was neo-Gothic. It was a beautiful theater, as many little towns across New Jersey. Each main street had to have its theater, and it served vaudeville, quickly moved to films. And we had a Broadway producer come out to Maplewood to the Women's Club, and her name was Cheryl Crawford. And she decided that Maplewood was the perfect place to screen, to have
Theater.
Broadway shows perform, because we have a great audience and the proximity to New York City, the quality of the audience and the proximity to New York City. So she put on 40 Broadway productions during a couple of summers. And this was at the Maplewood Theater. There was all kinds of stars that were there that would come out, and it was an amazing
Ingrid
high.
Bergman, right?
Yes, Tallulah Banks, and so. And then, over the years, there was the Jaws, the North Jersey debut of Jaws. There was line down the street for 3 weeks, going all the way to Baker Street for people to come in to get to see Jaws, and that's because of Roy Schneider.
He was from
Went to Columbia High
Yeah,
School.
he's at Columbia High School,
Yeah.
right? So we also had other red carpets, and the
Moonrise
lead
Kingdom?
Moonrise Kingdom, the lead actor in
That's
Moonrise
true.
Kingdom is a Maplewood Columbia High School grad.
Elizabeth Shue, I know she did something there a few years ago. Her and her brother had a movie, a soccer movie that had come out, and she was from South Orange.
But I think it was really in the 80s when the multiplexes took
Right.
over.
Yep.
And, and that was almost a precursor to what we got in Netflix. And I think a lot of people sort of had the feeling like you would go see a movie in a chopped up little theater. And then when your home theater got better and better and better, people started saying, why should I leave my home?
Right.
You
I'm
know?
going to sit in a theater with 20 people instead,
Right.
because that's as many seats as there are in the little side room.
Right.
When I moved to Maplewood in 2008, I went to the theater, and I have to say, the Maplewood Theater, I was a little disappointed. It was small and a little uncomfortable, but it
Yes.
was quaint and cute, so I
Yes.
liked it
And
for
it was
that
here.
reason.
It was
And it was
ours.
convenient.
Right.
It was ours,
Right.
but it wasn't perfect.
No,
And
not at all.
so if we rebuild, and when we rebuild, we'll do something very different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Plus, nowadays too, the wonderful thing about these new cinemas that we're seeing in these other towns is that they're being built with a mixed use purpose from the beginning. So yes, you have to have film be the first goal, because you have to have a DCP system, which stands for Digital Cinematic Package. It's how new movies get distributed. If you don't have one of those, you cannot exhibit the film. So you need to have all that stuff built in, but you can also make it flexible. If you can have open mic nights, bands, you can have wedding ceremonies, birthday parties.
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of things you can do in that space in addition to showing movies.
I had my engagement party at the Michigan Theater.
Oh, that's cool.
And on the marquee, it said Josh and Lisa's Big Deal.
Oh, that's
That's
awesome.
great.
That's
That's
awesome.
great.
Yeah. So the theater is near and dear to your heart.
Yeah.
For sure,
Lisa.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Maplewood Film Society. Again, you got 800 members on. I think have over, and this is just a year old, right? I mean, so that's the strides. You've already partnered up with Soma Action, which is a growing local.
And the Maplewood Division of Arts and Culture has been a great partner.
And that was
good.
my next question. Going to ask you. So you're building partnerships. You're having fun with this. I know that. What are some of the goals over the next few years? Sans the movie theater, just other things you want to do.
Well, we would love to have more pop-up events. So let's just, just imagine where we are right now. Even in the best case scenario, we're not going to have a cinema in our town for a long time, right? Even if we started construction tomorrow,
no construction,
right?
no construction, whatever
Right.
the case.
Right.
And right now, so our hope would be that we would be able to maybe partner with SOPAC, or if they get a new cinematic tenant there, we would have pop-up events. We would love to work with the recreation department and start doing a series in the park, if possible. Still working with the Woodland. But honestly, if people are listening, we're open to anything. Do you have a nice brick wall behind your building that you think would be a good for showing a film? Let's talk about it and see what else we can do. We have to be creative.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is part of the fun, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is happening more and more. I've really had so much fun connecting with other independent film people around the country. And I just discovered this other organization called the Kingston Film Foundation. And again, they don't have a movie theater, but they are working with all these other businesses to have pop-up screenings.
Right.
And then there's this wonderful thing happening in New York City where a group is starting the West Side Cinema Center. They got a big grant from Governor Hochul. They have a bunch of big celebrities that have come in and given them money, and it's run by this wonderful family, Beth and Ira Deutschman. And I saw them at an event, and they were like, "Well, now we own a movie theater. Now
That's
they're
cool.
entering the next phase where they have to refurbish it, and they're having pop-up events in the meantime. So that's the model."
I have a question, right? And this is just kind of like brainstorming, which I don't know if we should be doing on the podcast.
I love it.
I know you guys have focused on the village for the most part. Have you spoken with any of the businesses on Newark Way?
Oh, we
in
love those
Maplewood?
businesses.
yeah.
That's a great question.
I would think that would
That's
be
such
great
a cool
spaces to do pop-ups.
Part of time. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually know the owner of the new Maplewood Wheelhouse. So if you haven't
good.
checked out the cheese shop, I highly recommend you go
Okay,
there.
great.
I don't know if their space is right for showing movies, but it's such a great
might
vibe out
be
there.
one or
Oh wait, and I just saw the Slice Pizzeria. They're doing a really fun event, this kind of like a carny event, sort
Yeah.
of, for the 4th of July. I saw their posters around town. And so they have a great spirit over there, and I think we could really maybe, whether it's another block party vibe with a movie,
Right.
Cinema Paradiso style,
There we
right?
go. Right.
I mean, there's a lot of industrial buildings in that area.
Yes, there
and,
are.
I don't know, how that's going to evolve, but it reminds me more of Brooklyn, Williamsburg. It's, less architecturally interesting maybe than
Right.
some of the other places around town, but it definitely has a vibe that
Absolutely.
is appealing to a lot of people who live here. And so I'd love to see how this part of our town evolves, and maybe there will be a cinema there one day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The getting back to Maplewood Village with the planned redevelopment, the Bergdorf building, the theater, Bergdorf Theater, which is a beautiful build from the outside, and it's just gorgeous. And I think they're actually using it right now for.
Yes.
They're filming something.
They're filming something right now with Laura Linney and Kevin Kline. Is that part of the redevelopment, as far as you know? Is that something that could we lose that?
No, that is protected, and I think it's a historic building, and the town does own it. I think that's been, that's one of the things I know that the town has wanted to be able to invest in that and refurbish it. I mean,
Okay.
it's kind of ironic that they're filming the series there now, because I think the reason why they're filming it is because it's about a rundown local theater.
They came to the right place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you know anything more about that production? Is that something that's kind
I
of?
don't, except I've seen little stories. I know someone was crossing the street and then got, started a conversation and ended up being an extra in a funeral scene the next day.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
I don't know how long they're going to be here, but I think they're also in the bank building. So if you've noticed,
Yes.
if you've walked by and you see
They're using
those,
staging, right? They're
and,
the
and
staging
you've
and
noticed
the-
the lettering on the bank door says the Millerton Bank or something
Oh,
like that.
I didn't notice it. Okay, I got to notice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's where they're sort of based, their headquarters.
Got it.
Yeah, it's great.
There was also filming with Merrill Lynch, I think in the 1990s on Maplewood Avenue, using the Maplewood Theater, and Merrill Lynch was in it.
Oh, Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep,
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
I
did I
see
say
that.
Merrill Lynch? Okay, David Lynch,
Right.
Meryl Streep.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just combining things.
Yeah.
But
remember
Meryl
that.
Streep. We did another big movie at one point in Maplewood.
Yeah, I forgot the name of the Meryl Streep movie, but I know they set up right next to where Arturo's was.
Yeah.
There was
Basically, downtown was shut down for
Yeah,
the
and they
which
had
was
like a
great.
little. They had like
I
a.
had just moved here.
Yeah, they had a
at the time.
Ferris wheel
Yeah.
there, like it was a carnival. They
Wow.
set up,
Yeah, they had
and I remember
Ferris
watching the movie, being
wheel.
like, "Wow, that'd be great! They had that now.
Yeah.
What movie is that?
We should show
can't
it.
remember what movie.
No,
it was.
I've been wanting to. So if you're listening, anybody from the Braff family,
Yeah, Zach,
I've been
yep.
trying to get in touch with Zach Braff because he just had a big anniversary for Garden State,
Yeah.
which, as you know, was filmed
Yep.
in and around here. He went to CHS as well. And they did a big benefit in Los Angeles that was a concert because the soundtrack from that film is amazing. But I think we deserve a Garden State benefit
Absolutely,
here that we
yeah.
could use for some fundraising.
Yeah. that's a
His
great idea.
stepsister is Jessica Curson, the wonderful comedian. So I worked with her many years ago. She wouldn't take my call, but you know what? I'll try to reach
I'm
out
sure
anyway.
she's listening.
Yeah, she's definitely listening. Yeah. She's
So
like,
listeners-
Lee and Ian podcast. Yeah,
Listeners, if
absolutely.
you have a connection to Zach Braff, this is a great opportunity to get in touch with him to help
Yes.
in terms of redeveloping a cinema here in Maplewood.
It'd be great to have, a real benefactor to,
Yep.
help us build this theater.
Yep.
So how could people learn more about what you guys are doing, Maplewood Film Society, follow you,
It's so easy.
get
We have-
involved? I know you're looking for volunteers, by the way, for Maplewood Stock, too.
Right. So just this is just our. First of all, you can go to maplewoodfilmsociety.org.
Okay.
You can find a petition there. You can donate, which we would be so grateful for. Everything that you donate goes directly into the community and trying to have events. And yes, because we know that the town is going to be updating these documents over the summer. And you mentioned the July 15th date, which is something I just heard today. Do you know what is happening on July 15th?
I think there's something that's being announced about amendments to the master plan, but I don't know exactly
Okay.
what's
Well,
going on.
because of this, and we feel this urgency, we are going to be getting, we're going to be doing a little canvassing to get more signatures for our petition. And we have a lot of signatures
We already
now.
have 1,200 signatures.
Wonderful.
And we have a lot of great comments that people have left also.
Over 500 comments of people saying why they love the cinema and why they're signing the petition. But we want more. I think we can get more. And I also think, we've done this all digitally. So, we're not local politicians.
No.
We're not doing this, for fun. So, but we're going to get into our uncomfortable zone and talk to people face to face.
good.
And do a little pressing of the flesh and talking to people and just trying to explain what's going on because we think a lot of people are unaware of the
Right.
impending changes to Maplewood Village. And not just people who love the cinema, but just love the scale and the size of our town. There are a lot of big debates happening, and
Right.
people should be engaged with local politics and should know what's going to happen.
Yeah, so
in
the
our town.
petition is more than just about having a theater in town. It's about the redevelopment plan.
Okay.
And you could find that on our website, as Angela was saying, maplewoodfilmsociety.org.
You know what I love about you, too? When we just met, but again, I've been following what you guys have been doing. So many people move to the community, and we don't have this, we don't have that, and this stinks, and that stinks. You guys, you guys are like, no, we have
Trying to
it.
do something about it.
Let's make it better, and I'm going to do something about it, and we're going to grow it through positivity, and I mean, there's no negativity here with what you guys are doing. This is all like, we would love to see this,
yeah.
not just like, how dare you try to take it away. You're like, is there any way we could save it?
And it's
These
because-
are very positive people to our listeners,
Yeah,
and
it's true.
working with these two, Lisa and Angela, I think you would enjoy it. It's a great opportunity to do something great for your community. Follow their lead. I think it would be the right. I think you'd enjoy
I'll
it.
add to that too. Somebody who has been on the township committee
Yes, he
and
has,
is
yeah.
involved in local politics.
Former vice mayor. By the way.
Oh,
That the fact that here are people who are really trying to do something good that's going
Yes.
to benefit everybody. It's a great thing to get involved in.
I think the main motivator for me is that I love our community.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a great group of friends. I have a wonderful book club. I love my gym. I love the things I do and the places I go. But then there's always new people to meet. And it's just an amazing community. And I keep meeting new, wonderful people. And I just want to preserve the town as a creative and arts town for our community.
Yeah. One thing that I read about a lot recently is people talking about people being lonely and people feeling isolated. And I really like that the two of you are talking about the cinema as being, more than just a place to go and watch movies, right? It's a place to come together with other people. It's a place to come together with people and talk about what's going on in the movie that you
Yes.
see in the world.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic.
It's definitely a social experience.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm a professional storyteller for whatever that means, right? But that's what makes us human.
Right.
I mean,
Yep.
I don't want to be like super cheesy, but like people have been getting together around stories since the moment we built a campfire,
Yeah.
right? And it's like it hasn't changed. And like right now, people are feeling isolated because
Yep.
of technology,
Yep.
social media. And pretty soon, like we can't even believe everything we're seeing in our phones today. We're all
That's
getting
right.
served tons of disinformation. The only way to know what's real is to go out and do something and talk
That's
to other
right.
people and experience something. And stories, which are what movies are,
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
like the best way to do it. And it'll just like renew your faith in humanity and remind you like what you have in common with other people. Like
That's
we're
great.
doing this for like the good of society,
Exactly.
people.
I love that. Yeah, that's wonderful.
What is your advice to young filmmakers? Actually, here's a good question because we have so many being an an artistic community. The kids, well, I want to do film. I want to be Broadway. But for the young filmmaker, 20 max,
Oh my
20-something
gosh.
years of age, it's a hard business to
Wait,
get
okay.
into.
I actually think that, I see this. Oh my God! Like in our town, we have so many talented young people.
Yep.
It blows me away.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? There's no barrier for entry now as far as like equipment or
true.
anything. If you have an idea, if you have something you want to tell the world, like they're doing it. And so we don't need to tell young people that. Like they all identify as
They know
creators already.
more than we do.
And I saw this film that was made at CHS by a young man named Reese the other day, and it was like a graduating it was about their senior class and
Yeah.
graduating.
It played at graduation
my
at Cody
God.
Arena.
Right, I read about that in the
It
Village
was a
Green,
great
I
film.
believe.
Yeah. And
yeah.
And it makes you cry. It had a good arc. It was well written. And you're just like, if this kid can do this like all on his own with like
Yeah.
no budget, like give him a job.
Right,
Yeah.
But the problem is the film business is really hard to make money with right now. And and you hear this even at the Oscars if you pay attention to these things. Filmmakers themselves who have won Oscars are saying, I lost money last year.
Right.
Yeah.
So if financial security is top of mind, it may not be the best thing.
Yep.
So you have
so you
to
could get a Marvel a license and make a
I
Superman
know. I actually
movie or
worked a little
whatnot.
bit with like the this company called Agbo Films. So I've worked with Focus Features. I worked with Agbo Films, which is owned by the Russo brothers, who make all the Marvel films, and they're all great people who love film and stories too. But one, young filmmakers, don't wait. Just do whatever you want to do, but try to get out of social media and show it to and other sort of
Festivals and local theaters.
and then the other thing would be to be flexible, because like the skills that you have that you gather as a filmmaker can be applied to so many things. So there's ways of like adapting those skills and the knowledge and experience to other things that may help you earn a living at some point too.
Right. That's good.
There's plenty of ways to earn money as a video editor, video shooter, video creator, writer, director. There's so much out there really right now. I mean, people are consuming so much content.
That's it. All
And
the time.
so you won't have a problem if this is something that you want to pursue it.
That's great.
My parents in Florida, they lived next to Jerry Bruckheimer's mother for years, and my father would, constantly knock on her door and say, my son's got a film out, and she, can you
He's
talk
got
to
this great web series.
Yeah,
It won awards in LA and Rome.
and I was like, any news from Bruckheimer? I'm working on her, but anyway,
Gotta try.
yeah. So anyway, we're still, they're still working on it, so we'll see. I'll let you know when Jerry gets back to me.
Absolutely. Let's go to Rome again.
That's right.
Yes,
I'm
let's
with
go.
you.
I'm there. Yep.
That's right. So Maplewood Film Society. Anything else we failed to mention? Future screenings coming up, plans coming up to specific movies.
No, we don't have any concrete plans at the moment.
Maybe in the fall.
We'd love to.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of ideas. We're always bursting with ideas, and then it's just a matter to see like which one can come into fruition first. So we'll let you know.
Yeah.
And then so follow us on social media. Go to our website. And then if you see us in town or you see us at Maple Woodstock walking around, like chat with us, sign the petition. And we're looking for people who are happy to speak up. Like we want people to join us at the town meetings so we can show up in force and show how many people care about this.
Nancy Adams, Mayor Nancy Adams, is a friend of mine, friend of Ian's. We've known her for many, many years. She's a loyal listener of the podcast.
She is.
The reason I bring this up is Nancy. I'm talking to you, Nancy. years ago, we would meet at the St. James Gate. We would have dinner and a drink, and then you and Sal would run off to see a movie. Yeah, that was a big Nancy thing.
Remember those
Drinking in a
days,
movie
Nancy?
at the Maplewood. Yeah. So anyway,
It's a great night out, dinner and a movie.
Right,
That's it.
dinner and a movie. So
It's good
Nancy,
for
just
economics.
just remember how much fun we had. We could do that again.
We would love to go see a movie with you, Nancy.
That's right. Yes.
Please keep listening, Nancy.
Please keep. Yeah, we love Nancy Adams. So, all right. So I guess Ian, anything else?
I don't think anything else. Anything else that you guys want to tell us before we end it?
No, just, get in touch. Tell us what movies you love. And if you have ideas, we're open.
And look for you at Maple Woodstock.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And definitely sign that petition and get
Yeah.
involved because for the next couple months, we're going to be focusing more on
Got it.
activism, seeing what we can do to get the theater in town, what we can do. We're going to focus on that. And then coming in the fall, we'll be doing more pop-up screenings
Excellent.
and thinking more about that,
Very
changing
cool.
gears then.
Yeah.
So stay in touch, get in touch, like us, join us, visit our website, sign the petition.
Terrific.
Well, Angela Matusik and Lisa Cohen, keep up the good fight.
Oh,
Yes,
you guys are
thank
the
you.
best.
Thank you
We're
for
so
being
lucky
here.
to have you.
Thank you so much for having
coming in.
us.
This was
Yeah.
a lot of fun. So, Ian, I guess until we.
I guess until we meet again.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.